as he just mentioned, you pretty much played almost every snap last year. You know, how are you going to handle that? How are you going to try to coach some of these younger guys behind you?
Well, we got to develop some depth. You know, that's kind of an area of concern going into this camp. We have the talent, we have the potential, but the experience isn't quite there. And you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have that experience and kind of that cohesiveness of being able to go out and play under the lights, then you're not going to be very successful. So we're excited about it, and you know, I'm looking forward to kind of being able to take a step back and help these younger guys and kind of take on that leadership role.
Can you kind of break down the younger guys behind you? What you think they kind of bring to the table?
I think all of them are want-to guys. I mean, Coach Caldwell and Coach Swing have done a good job of recruiting the right type of players that want to go out and do well. And so you're not going to have to coach their energy, you're not going to have to coach their effort. So we're really excited about that. And those are the kind of kids you want to work with.
How have you kind of developed that leadership role? I remember last year, I think before the Auburn game, you took a bunch of the guys aside and said, we've got to do this, we've got to watch more film. How has that developed for you over time in your career?
Well, it's just progressed. And,
in any way detract from the season?
It's hard to think about, you know, me coming in 5 years ago being the baby, and now I'm, you know, the grandpa on the team. And, but you know, the guys respect me and I respect them, and you know, we all have the same goal. You know, we all want to be champions, and they're all buying into doing that, and they respect the fact that I've been there and I've done that, and you know, we're just excited about all trying to move forward and all be on the same page.
The protection calls you make them still.
Right.
With Chad coming in, did you make more of them, or different in any way than before? How's that changed?
Probably about the same. It was a little bit less complicated, but at the same time, it was still primarily set on my shoulders. And,
you say this is less complicated, or the other one is?
This is less complicated. Okay. I mean, there's still a great deal of responsibility put on my shoulders as far as getting us in the right protection. You know, even with the quarterback reading off our hots and stuff like that, but you know, it's not near as complex as some of the things we were doing in the past.
How's it work when you call out a protection, and then you got the quarterback back there, and then he sees something, and he goes, "Uh-oh, we're in the wrong protection." How scary.
It's challenging, you know. He'll try to come up, and you know, that's part of being a good team, though, being on the same page, and that's something you don't develop when you go out there and play. It's something you develop in the winter and the spring and the off season, watching film together, really just trying to be as close as you can possibly be with your quarterback and your fellow offensive lineman, because a lot of times he'll see something that I can't see. You know, he can see a safety rotating over, you know, cheating off the hash, or safety kind of widening out, or, you know, I can see a nose guard kind of cheating down, the will cheating in, or something like that. So for us, being able to communicate and get on the same page is key.
But how do you do that when you're at Florida State or somewhere and it's really noisy and stuff like that?
You just prepare. I mean,
but I mean, that's when he comes up to the line and
yeah, I mean, you prepare, and you know, you expect those type of situations to have. You'll get some tendencies, and you know, on certain situations what to expect, and you know, you're kind of always looking for it in the back of your head.
And did that get better even in last season as the season went on?
Oh yeah. Every snap that Taj and I played together, we got more comfortable, and I think we got better.
Let me ask you this, it's a little off the subject, but the reason I asked, I heard Jeff Saturday talking about with Peyton, they got it down to Peyton could change the protection a second and a half before the snap count, and everybody was together on it. They didn't have any mistakes. I mean, is that the kind of, not that specific thing, but is that the kind of ideal that you can change like really quick like that and everybody's with it? Is that
yeah, I believe Taj and I are to that point. And last year we got pretty close to that as a whole, but this year it's going to be challenging, obviously, with only having 2 returning starters and the guard going out to tackle, moving a nose guard over to play right guard, and then filling in 2 new spots. It's going to be difficult to kind of get that cohesiveness right off the bat, but that's something we've definitely worked at and worked on this off season, and we'll continue to work at throughout the season.
What's the most difficult part about that when you have guys next to you that haven't been there before? It's the communication.
It's the communication. I think last year I kind of took it for granted a few times because I wouldn't have to say anything. As you mentioned, you know, Tosh would come up and say one thing and we all knew what it meant. Now they're telling Tiger's coming up telling me, and I know what he means, and I have to relay that message sometimes to the guard and the tackle, and really just over communicating is probably our emphasis right now.
But you're also trying to speed up the offense this year.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope. I mean, but at the same time, if nobody's on the right page and we're not sure what we're doing, we're not going to be very good. So, speed is key, but obviously being on the right page and doing what is called and what's coached is more important than anything.
Does it feel like you've been here 5 years and say you feel like the grandpa now?
Yeah, I feel like I've been here about 10 years. Yeah. Old man on campus.
As an offensive lineman, how difficult is it to get used to the speed of that offense and just the quickness of getting up to the line of scrimmage and really not having a chance to catch your breath and that kind of thing?
I mean, at first it was pretty shocking, but now going through 2 springs and a full season, we're used to it. And honestly, last season, we were a no huddle, we were a high tempo team, but we still kind of drug out, some of our plays. And it wasn't until this spring I actually felt like we were really starting to push the tempo. And I think you'll see a difference come this fall.
Is it more a mental thing or is it more a conditioning thing to be able to keep up that pace, especially you big guys up front?
I think it's more mental because you get going and then coach more football play that might not be one we run a lot of times, and you have to kind of sit and think. It's obviously a lot harder to focus and prepare when you're tired. So, if you're on a 10 or 12 play drive and you're out of breath and they call a play that you're not really used to hearing, you get called in that situation, you're like, wait, what are we doing? But at the same time, you got to be able to go. So I think mental preparedness and mental toughness is what it all boils down to.
How scary can this offense be?
I think it can be the most explosive offense in the country. I mean, I'm not sure we have enough balls to throw to all of our receivers. And the healthy Andre Ellington is something we've been waiting to see for a long time. And I think he's the healthiest he's ever been. So we're very excited about that.
Any of the young guys behind you particularly impressed you in spring and these summer workouts?
Yeah, I mean, all of our offensive linemen have done extremely well. They know that it's wide open right now. I mean, we had starters coming out of the spring, obviously, but we hadn't played it down in camp. And Reed Webster's a guy I think that's really come along and has worked his tail off. And we're really excited about him. And obviously at the center position, we're looking forward to seeing what Ryan Norton can do. We think he can play a little bit of guard and/or center. And Jay Guillermo, whether he's going to redshirt or not, we'd obviously love to keep him. But if he's going to be one of our better 8 or 9 guys, we want to play.
Is it safe to say that probably the most important part of this offense is Andre Ellington and his health, and how, if he can stay healthy, that this offense that you talked about could be even more explosive than, what I'm saying?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, especially with, us losing Mike Bellamy and that kind of home run threat. We are a little bit thin in the backfield, but we do have great players. DJ Howard's finally healthy. Zach Brooks coming in is going to have to play for us as a true freshman, and he's ready to do that. He had a great spring, but obviously a healthy Andre Ellington, that's like a Heisman Trophy winner compared to somebody that's coming out of high school like Zach Brooks. So, we're very excited about that, and I think Andre has had the best offseason he's ever had, and he's the healthiest he's ever been. He's going to have the best season he's ever had.
Dalton, that's a really nice piece of jewelry there on your right hand. It's a nice piece of jewelry. Is that enough? Are you satisfied?
No, not at all. I mean, we came to Clemson to win championships, and I've been very blessed. I've played in 2 championship games, won 1, but I'd like to play in 3 and win 2, and then be able to go on and win something bigger than that.
How long did the Orange Bowl results stick in that
it was tough. Waking up at 5 a.m. in those winter workouts, it obviously left a bitter taste in your mouth. But at the end of the day, we had to turn the page. And right now, our focus is 100% on Auburn. You can't dwell over that.
Looking at next season, though, which of those 2 games is a bigger motivating factor? Winning the ACC championship or not having as much success in the Orange Bowl? Which is more motivating?
I think they're both pretty motivating. I think you have to look at both of them and realize the fact that when we play our best football, we can compete and beat anybody in the country. And when we're turning the ball over and not playing very well, we can get embarrassed. So I think you take both of them into consideration and you try to move forward.
What do you feel like the program needs to do to kind of take that next step beyond the ACC championship and have some more success on the national stage?
I think just becoming more consistent on the national stage. I mean, obviously opening up in Atlanta, playing Auburn's a huge step for us, and being able to win a game like that, winning our non-conference games, playing South Carolina competitively year in and year out, and just being more consistent because, you know, we've proven that we can do it in spurts, but, you know, also at the Orange Bowl, we've proven, you know, we're not consistent enough yet. So we're excited and we're ready to be able to go out and just prove to people we can be that consistent national competitor.
Robbie Caldwell said the other day, and Chad Morris too, that he thinks this year's line has a chance to be better and that they are more athletic than last year's line. Just your thoughts. You played with those guys in the spring. Is that true?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're very excited about the guys we have coming in and their want to. And we've recruited great talent, and they could have been playing these past years, but you know they just hadn't been their turn yet. And now that it's their turn, I think they're finally starting to realize that, and they're starting to understand the sincerity and you know the seriousness of it all. And they've had a great offseason. I'm excited to see what they can do.
And Chad said that Tyler Shatley brings, from the defensive side of the ball, a physical attitude. Yeah. Tell me what he brought to you in the spring.
Well, Tyler's an extremely smart kid as well. You know, bringing him in, you know, he was always one to watch film, trying to pick up as much as he could pick up before we even started. And what it turned out being was he was helping coach me some too, because he's like, well, you know, y'all were doing this, but this is what we were doing over there. And, you know, we were able to compare notes. So he's going to be a great addition to our offensive line, you know, bringing that defensive mindset over. And just his knowledge is going to be very explosive for us. But as you mentioned, that nastiness, that defensive mentality coming over and bringing that to the offensive line is going to help the toughness in our room as well.
Does it help that he's been on the field before, even though it was on the other side of the ball?
Yeah, experience is something you can't coach. I don't care whether it's offense or defense. And but for him being able to come over, it's a lot better than starting fresh. I promise you that.
Your job is best, I'd say agility, like footwork, that kind of thing on the offensive line.
I'm sorry.
The agility, footwork on the offensive line. Who's the best? Who's the ballet dance the guy can really, like if you needed somebody to pull and, you know,
yeah.
who'd be your best?
Brandon Thomas has been extremely athletic for us. You know, he played tight end in high school and could probably still do that for us. I think he ran a 4.7 last summer, so extremely athletic. He's a 300-pound guy. And, you know, he can play guard, play tackle, really do about anything we can ask him.